This content is made possible by channel members. Thank you all very much.
Hello. I've just got back from holiday today. Actually, I've got in. The wife has given me tea. She has fed and clothed me after I have showered. The cat has been all over me because she has missed me. And now I have sat down to discuss something that is going to be game changing. That is the Wayward Realms two scale towns. Now, the reason I bring this up is because I have just visited Naples, and Naples, as you can see here, has some very tight and narrow streets. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Victor and Michael have been able to do with the Wayward Realms procedural generation and the waveform claps that they explained to me in this interview here. And that is because just look at some of these streets because they are so narrow and so ancient, and there are little shrines built into parts of the buildings. They're everywhere, and you can go through lots of little like Warren style streets, and then come out into a little plaza, a little square, and there is a massive Gothic looking church. By the way, I went to see the Cathedral of the Assumption of Mary, and it was sublime. A real experience for me, made me feel both joyous and mournful, but that's another topic for another day. I want to see what the Wayward Realms is going to be able to do in terms of the cityscapes. We have seen a little bit in the gameplay trailer they released ever so long ago now, and I am beginning to hope that we get a little bit more than just interviews from the crew there because I want to see where they're at. What they've described is incredible, but can they bring it forward into a tangible product, an early access product in time for the end of the year, which it should be. They have told me it should be. They're happy with the way things are going. But can we get, with the waveform claps, this sort of interconnected cityscape where these winding warrens of ancient cities are built up? You have to remember they have got a thousand or thousands of years of lore built up for the archipelago. And that would mean that a lot of these cities should have a mass amount of, I will call it archaeology behind them. They should have racia everywhere. And I did a little bit of amateur archaeology back in the day. That means there should be sort of artifacts of people living there for a long, long time, like broken pottery, and the dungeons that you delve into should have things that relate to the people that now live above the ground. The streets themselves, if you look at Daggerfall cities, and I adore Daggerfall. I've streamed it on this channel. I've got videos on this channel of Daggerfall, but I want to see this this new approach to graphics and to waveform collapse, as I keep repeating myself. And I want to see what they're able to accomplish with just how complex and differentiated they can make these cities. Balfour-Pava, for example, is the town that I think we see in the gameplay trailer released, I think, a few years ago now, and it kind of looks a little Daggerfall-ish. I want to know where they have progressed to now. Do things still have that kind of boxy feel? Which, to be honest, I don't mind because it reminds me of Daggerfall, and I like that sort of thing. Or is it going to be sort of a more naturalistic feel that you might find in Kingdom Come Deliverance? I haven't played 2, but the original Kingdom Come Deliverance, where these buildings seem very natural as if they're supposed to be there. I am wondering, especially if the castles and fortifications of such cities will make the same amount of sense as they do in real life. Just as an example, I've just been to Naples. There are castle and fortification structures within the city, closer to the heart of the city, because as time has gone on, the city has spilled out over its old fortifications. The cathedral in the center of the city is sort of swamped by just urban sprawl of these tall, flat like buildings with uh, some of these streets were sort of 9 to 8 feet wide, and people were still driving through them. It was really an experience, and it's made me think a lot about how I describe in D&D, for example, the way in which cities occur. The capital city of Dreer, for example, in the Westling, my own personal world, I described as having the sort of shops with open fronts onto very narrow cobbled streets. Little did I know I was describing the city of Naples, or Napoli, or Neapolis, if I can get my Greek out. Before I continue with this, please do go ahead and give me a like down below. It really does help out the channel. Give me a subscribe, because it is amazing seeing that number go up and having all of your support. It means the world to me. There is a third thing. I'm not putting any ads in this video, save for this one. I have hit 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. But we are going to do a members only dungeon run. I will run a dungeon of my own design for some select members of the Lawsworn level or higher. So go ahead and click that join button below this video and maybe consider becoming a Lawsworn if you fancy playing some 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons for a special one-shot live stream to the rest of the community. I suppose whilst I'm on that topic, there won't be any talking in the library streamed on Wednesday, the 24th, because I am knackered. I'm doing this because it is fresh out of the brain, and I found Naples to be quite inspiring in the way one would look at the way a city was structured. Another thing to think about is quarters. You see, what I am familiar with now, thanks to my little brother, who, this guy, he went to Naples with me. His idea. We went to Herculaneum. And that's an entirely different video that I will be doing on sort of ruined towns affected by natural disasters, but that will wait for another time. But what I've found is that the Neapolitans, the people that live in Naples, they speak their own sort of dialect of Italian. They which is sort of kind of mixed with Greek. Do feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, and you are from Naples. And by the way, congrats on winning the cup. I saw the Diego stuff everywhere. I can see you guys are very much into your football. Go straight over my head. Um, there are certain quarters within the city. So as you went into the more ancient parts of the city, you could tell that it was a very heavily localized area. Like the people that were there had probably been living there for generation upon generation upon generation. Whereas closer to the Piazza Garibaldi train station, which is where I arrived, because I was staying in Ercolano, um, there were more diaspora of other peoples, Eastern Europeans, Africans, and Middle Easterners, to be exact. And I think this would be very interesting on sort of the crossroads of the kingdoms of the Wayward Realms, of the archipelago. Um, the Orcish kingdom and the human kingdom. Are there any sort of outlying towns outside of Belfapava where the architectural styles or the cultural styles or the signage and the language that you see around is changed based on the locals inhabiting the area? Now, I know for a fact that Michael and Victor told me that the waveform claps can revisit a location to say that a new population is now living it. But how segmented can we get with that? Let's take Belfort Pava, for instance. If that town were to be destroyed, and they seem to be quite confident that the destruction of towns and the rebuilding of towns would make it into the final product, hopefully, if we then have, say, majority elf population after the orcish and human populations are wiped out and the town raised, will we simply have all elves, or will we have remnants, sort of refugee remnants of the orc and human population that existed there prior, which now maybe represent the elf population, which is dominant? It was little things like that, which I think the cities would be very much more brought to life by. So you've got the architecture, the way they're laid out, the way the fortifications are, and the relationships between the different communities that find themselves living together within these very small locations. Now, if you're not really here for the Wayward Realms stuff, and I know quite a few of you are here just for Wayward Realms stuff, believe me, I'm just as excited as you. But if you're here for more of the generic fantasy stuff, or the D&D stuff, the literature stuff, I suppose it's something quite it's a topic quite near and dear to my heart, because again, the capital city of Dreer in my world, the capital of the Westling, it's sort of in my very scuffed version of Elvish. It's Derelier, and it translates to the city of races because it is a melting pot city where the law of the world has just so happened that this city has a convergence of peoples that are now referred to as the Westling. Majority human, probably about 75 to 80% human, but you've got a very healthy smattering of some city dwarfs, which are different to mountain folk dwarfs in my lore, wood elves and high elves, and it's these old passing away of the wood elf and high elf way of life and the establishment of human nationality within the Westling, which the stories kind of have to struggle with and wrestle with. And I do find it incredibly interesting because Naples to me seems like a place of ancient culture, of ancient people, and there are newcomers that come along and sort of need to find their way to fit in with that very vibrant people. And I found the entire place utterly fascinating. And I was blessed to see the bones of Saint Gennaro as well, in the crypt of the Cathedral of the Assumption. Um, that was quite special for me, and I think, which you could then again you could say these the religions of the Wayward Realms, like you have the goddess statue in the bay of Belphapava. I would be very intrigued to find perhaps an ancient site further into the Isle of Ijar to see if there is maybe a relic of that ancient religion, which gives you a little bit more light on what might have happened. Or perhaps you can go into some of the more established religious organizations of the archipelago and find these ancient relics and artifacts and remains of great people from that faith and see in the way in which they. I am getting far, far ahead of myself because I started this one to talk about architecture and the way that waveform claps might be able to play with the roads, the narrowness of buildings, the types of buildings that are there. And now I'm here talking about the religions and faiths that might be in the archipelago. But I suppose these are all things that shall have to wait until we know more. And believe me, I cannot wait to get my hands on this video game to really sink my teeth into a proper CRPG. I just miss that sort of real proper stats game where things just feel as if they would move on without you. I haven't really felt like that, I think, since, well, probably since I last played Daggerfall. Even Baldur's Gate, one of my favorite games. I've sunk dozens and dozens and dozens of hours into that and never actually reached Baldur's Gate. Um, but it's like you go around the world and things just happen. I love that kind of simulation fantasy genre, which I'm hoping the Wayward Realms brings back in spades. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I, as you could probably imagine, am utterly knackered. It was probably 8 hours worth of travel to get home today. And here I am. Oh, I whacked the mic. That's probably a sign to stop, isn't it? I am back, guys. God bless.
Did you enjoy this video? I certainly hope you did. You might expect some music here, but YouTube really doesn't like me using royalty-free stuff and keeps flagging it. So go ahead, drop me a like, drop me a subscribe, leave me a comment. Check out my friends the Brass Drake and Dean of Untold Destiny, the little spinning heads there, and click on the other video. Please do, it really helps out the channel a lot. Have a good one.